Welcome to the Dead Pixel Society podcast, the photo imaging industry's leading news source. Here's your host, Gary Peugeot. The Dead Pixel Society podcast is brought to you by Mediaclip, Advertech Printing, and Independent Photo Imagers.
Hello again and welcome to the Dead Pixel Society podcast. I'm your host, Gary Peugeot, and today we're joined by Rick Molenaar, who is the commercial director of FastEditor, and some other things we'll talk about later. And Rick's coming to us from the Netherlands. Hey, Rick, how are you today?
Hey, Gary. Thanks for having me and very happy to be here. I'm doing very well. It's the end of the afternoon in the Netherlands. It's raining, of course, because October started, but I couldn't be any better this day.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit about FastEditor and how you got involved with the company. It's been around for a while, actually, but it's reached kind of like a general awareness just in the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So with FastEditor, we rebranded a couple of times in the last 10 years. So that's made it switch from one brand name to another. But basically already in the space since 2015, more or less, where basically we started as the software company for one of the biggest retailers in the Netherlands. That was in the photo space and basically needed to be developed online journeys and editing software for the customers to order as easy as possible online. Not only in desktop, but also on mobile devices, which were picking off, of course, a lot at that time. We've been able to do that with them for 4 or 5 years. We're very lucky to get their market insights and their views on how photo should be done in the best possible user way, but also all the traffic to get from them to optimize and learn and get all the data in. And basically during COVID, the contract ended, the first contract, it got extended for a long period of time, but the exclusivity got removed of the contract, which basically allowed us to open up to all kinds of in the world with the software that we already had built and tested over a volume of 25 million euros on a yearly basis. And that was basically the birth of FastEditor, where we put the software more like in a new brand. We're looking for new parts of the world, integrated with some cool brands in the meantime, and basically started to move and develop from that moment on. You're
kind of a European-based company, and that's one of the things kind of interesting I've noticed just in that region of the world. There's all these crazy little companies that have popped up in the last few years. What is it in the water over there where you're getting these brands popping up and these mobile sites popping up, in the UK and the Netherlands and Germany and Spain, who are just, it seems like it's a very active market, which we're really not seeing over here in North America.
Yeah, it's very interesting indeed. And I think it's due because of the country itself are smaller, of course. So your home market is always relatively small. So you need to be innovative and looking into new things and making things either better or more efficient or faster or cheaper, basically, to have a place in that small market. And then when you figured your product market fit and your growth engine in a local market, it's relatively easy to scale from there. So I think from that perspective, there's a local playground where the level is high because it's highly competitive in all the European home markets. Yeah. So you need to play very well there. And then when you win in your own market, it's relatively easy to scale further from that perspective.
But you also have different languages and some culture things, right? You've got some customization and personalization specifics you want to do if you want to move out of your home country, which you don't have over in North America. Like if I started a photo app in Michigan where I live, I can have an Ohio version without any changes, but you guys can't really do that right?
Yeah, I think what's changing in the last couple of years is that it becomes easier and easier to solve those things. Technology is on our side. It's so much easier to translate and localize compared to 10 or 15 years back. And I think the benefit is if you are really ambitious in Europe, you need to look over the border. So already from the beginning, you have somewhere in the back of your mind that you say like, okay, first I have to solve some things in my home market, in this very competitive market, but there's going to be a moment in the back of my mind already that I want to scale to other countries. Where potentially if you're like in a, relatively economic big state in the US, you can build 50 million, 100 million companies only in that state. So you might keep yourself a little bit longer in the state maybe than in Europe, where it's much smaller, and therefore in the back of your mind might already be the expansion plans from the beginning. Not for execution, but at least like to think about and already make some decisions from the beginning that there's
Sure.
at least like open path to go there over time.
Sure. Let's talk specifically about Fast Editor for a while, because specifically, you seem to be positioning yourself almost as a technology platform or as a provider of technology to the marketplace. What do you think your main offering is in that regard?
Yeah, very good question. Our view on the market is that the market is changing so rapidly at the moment at a lot of different dimensions, whether that's how to do marketing and do your customer service, or how to produce print and personalization products, and also in the software space.
Right.
Our view is that companies in the next 10 years will be built more and more as different components of those things next together. So where usually potentially as a company, you want to control everything in-house, from the software side to the production side and everything, how it handles the customer contact.
Right.
It becomes almost impossible to keep that on a high level on all those dimensions, because technology and AI is changing up things so fast.
Right.
But we positioned ourselves in 2021 as the middleware, basically on the editing and software sides.
Okay.
Where we said, if we fully invest in this and we make sure that we're up there with the latest technology trends and latest AI tools and implementations, then we can create the best piece of software there in the middle. And we can do those investments because we can be connected to hundreds of parties over the world that want to work with the best type of software. And we can do those investments. The individual companies probably cannot, because they only have their own business that they can work for.
Right.
And in that combination, try to create value in the market with way more connectivity than historically always happens.
So when you mean middleware, what exactly do you mean? I mean, because if I were to go to a customer of Fast Editor and they're using I'm looking at your UI, right? So what do you mean by middleware?
Yeah, so basically how it works from most of our partners is that they have their website with their homepage, with their product pages, they have their checkouts, and they want to keep the customer data and the customer account, but also the payment relationship on their side. That's their foundation as a business also in those type of cases.
Right.
There's much technology available basically that allows for good product pages and your optimized checkout and those kind of things. Whether you're run on WooCommerce platform or Shopify or something that you built yourself, things are very possible there. One unique part of the personalization industry customer journey, that's a very important part for the end customer and can make the difference between converting into an order or not, is how do I get my design and print ready file ready. And it's very specific on the product level. If you look in the photo space, photo books are completely different than photo prints or wall arts or photo in a certain way. And it's almost impossible to keep up with all those changes and trends and new tooling and new functionalities that are happening there.
Right.
So
new formats, new book styles, and there's all kinds of things happening there. Plus, just in the drinkware category, that has exploded.
yeah, for sure. And there are many niches and subcategories that are growing so quickly. In the same time, not only software and technology side, but also production side. There's so many things happening that it's way easier to produce smaller MOQs, do more print on demand, and have like a whole innovation spectrum happening on that side.
Right.
Combining that with strong technology and software changes on the front end, that's gonna change the market completely. And it's already happening. It's going to be happening even more in the upcoming years.
When you talk about the pace of things changing, right? We've all talked about AI over the last couple of years. There's still a lot of debate, I think, in the marketplace of how beneficial AI is really being, in the sense is it increasing orders? Is it just increasing efficiency? Is it increasing customer happiness? I think that's still a question to be answered, to be honest. I know that everyone's talking about it, you got to have it, but I'm wondering, are you seeing in your product and from your customers, is there being AI-driven increases in, book completion or something that is actually positive?
Yes, I'm going to answer this question from like a software perspective, because we are a software company.
Yeah.
Our view on AI, and especially where we are currently standing in 2024, is that there are so many highly valuable tools that can enrich the customer journey, but they need work and they need vision on how to integrate that in a total product and customer experience. So I think in our case, we make use of depends a little bit how you count, but you could say 30 different AI technologies.
Sure.
I think 22 of them are just running in the background. So a customer uploads a photo. It's actually too small for the big photo on canvas that they want to order. We upscale it in the backend without no customer noticing. And basically that way we make it possible to order that small photo on a 60 times 90 centimeters canvas.
Yeah.
That's highly valuable for the customer, which they won't notice. Our integrator software, of course, highly value that because they get an order that they normally wouldn't get.
Yeah.
And I think in many cases, it's that understanding the technology, understanding the added value and in which situations can bring value to the journey, and then integrating in a way that also makes sense for the customer. And in many, many cases, that is no mentioning to the customer and just the tool and technology do the thing.
Well, I mean, I guess that's kind of my point is, you know, in the old days, I upload the low res picture and I want to make a giant print out of it. I get an error message to say, sorry, try again, find a new picture. So I may lose that sale, right? So you can kind of see where upscaling would be of value there. So I think a lot of that backend stuff is great. I think it's just hard to quantify from an investment standpoint, right? How much that increase is, because the difference that you have with AI versus some other technologies is, right, when you're pinging a server to get to hit the AI intelligence, there's a cost to that.
Yep.
Right. And that's, you know, and that's unusual compared to, you know, having a cropping or other kind of tool in your interface, right? If you do a AI upscale, there's a charge for you for that. So you really hope that, gosh, you know, I'm going to make more money from doing this. And I think the jury's still out on that.
Yeah, completely true. And I think there's smart ways to think about it. So what we do, we already have like a pre-generation of the upscaled file basically in the editor itself, so that the customer already can see it in a certain way.
Sure.
And the real upscaling only happens at the moment that the customer really orders, and basically we get the trigger from a partner and we generating the print ready file. So that's when the real costs are basically being made.
Sure.
Also about smart choices that for a canvas of 60 to 90 centimeters and the average order value of that product, it makes sense to do the upscaling for 25 cents, for example. But if you're going to create a photo book with 150 images and 120 needs to be upscaled, probably you're going to lose all your margin if you don't charge anything to your customer for that. So
exactly. Yeah. So that, I mean, I think we're at an interesting point in that because it is such a buzzword, right? I mean, you can't open up anybody's business page these days and having, you know, AI, Gen AI, all these things. And they're wonderful tools, right? But, you know, the challenge is the business case, right? And that's some of the pushback I'm seeing over here is, you know, yeah, we love the AI stuff, but is it increasing orders? Is it increasing satisfaction, right? I mean, what I'm really interested to see is as people start putting more AI into the photo book tools, right? If that helps with the abandonment rate, right? Because over here, the abandonment rate is still probably north of 65%, where people start a book and then bail on it. And I think AI can help with that. You know, if we can drop that down to, you know, say 40%, don't even get it down to zero, just go down to 40%. We've almost doubled the market, right? So
yeah, and I think photo books are a very interesting example where AI can also play like a vital part in increasing those conversion rates. Also by making it visible, to customers. So we have some technology built where the customer gives some input on how he wants the AI to generate the book. What kind of style? Do you want more pages with less photos per page, or do you want less pages and then more photos combined on the page? So you give all that input so that the user also really feels like I have control over how the AI is generating my book.
Sure.
And then in this case, we have like a loader kind of little bit that tells you like, hey, the AI is creating your best photo book and taking into account all your unique desires that you have there, and then basically present them a book that they can order directly. So in some cases, it's just running in the backend, not making it visible at all. And in some cases, it's enriching the user experience to make it very visible and telling them what it actually does at that moment.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about some of the niches and markets that we've been talking about that you've just kind of opened up, and you've just recently added a logo editor of all things, which I think goes to the idea of this intersection between personalized photo and personalized products, right? There's sort of an intersection there. What was the impetus behind that? Well, first of all, tell us what it is. And second, why did you choose to do that?
Yeah. So basically, we made the decision there to step into logo products next to photo products because two reasons. One, completely external in the market happening actually, and the other one more on our side and how we were positioned to relatively easily tap into this opportunity. So in the market, we saw traditionally that the different print categories or personalization categories were quite moving independently from each other.
Right.
But because of a lot of production investments, technology improvements, and making it easier to produce in lower MOQs and way more print on demand, you see those categories and parts of the industry moving closer and closer to each other. So that made for us a lot of sense to say, like, okay, we don't want to be the photo editor anymore. Over time, we want to move into all the different categories because that's where we see the market happening anyway. And now we might have some customers that are only in photo. We believe that much more and more companies in the next 10 years will not be in a single category, but will move over categories basically because it's much simpler to have those kind of things. The other thing why we moved in logos, because our foundation from photo was like a perfect setup to get us there. So the UI UX that we needed to test for photo needed to be state of the art basically, and the home moms needed to be able to order a photo book lying on the couch from the mobile devices. So we needed to do a lot of investments there. That are basically requirements and needs that are also coming from promotional products and merchandise logo products. So that gave a good foundation. And on top of that, we felt with some testing that also, with some automation tooling and AI algorithms, we were pretty close to, next to photo, also bringing value to logo products, which in essence a little bit different. Generating the print ready file is much difficult for logo products than photo.
I mean, because in general, you're not always working with a flat surface. I mean, that's one of the major problems.
Yeah. And I have to say, like, one of the subcategories of photo where we're pretty strong in is photo gifts. So it could be keychains or puzzles or those kind of things, mugs. Their 3D visualization of the products is also very, very important, especially in the consumer markets.
Sure.
So that's something that we can tap into relatively easy from the photo sides and now make it available for logo and do it from that side.
We were talking earlier before I started recording about this congregation, if you will, that technology has created, this intersection between the personalized photo products and printing. And it seems like there's so much crossover between that. Do you think, though, that if you're let's say, for example, you're a traditional photo book site, everyone's looking for growth. No, especially nowadays, everyone's looking for growth. I get concerned that some of those folks may get distracted by adding all this other stuff, and you get kind of distracted, and it becomes a mess for the consumer. Is there anything you're doing from a software standpoint to help maybe single focused companies add products without cluttering the darn thing?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Photo retailers, energize your sales with ShareMe Chat, the proven texting platform. Using chat to text on your website keeps your customers connected and buying. See us at Pro and IPI to find out why dealers using ShareMe Chat close more sales without adding staff. Find out more at shareme.chat.
I think the question for every party in the market is going to be, what kind of company am I and where am I good at? And am I good at customer contact? Am I good at software? Am I good at production or any other thing? And probably it's going to be harder and harder to be good or even at like an okay level for all three of more of those dimensions.
Right. Yeah.
And probably if you try to keep up with that, some companies will still survive and thrive with that. But I think you're increasing your probabilities of losing when you try to keep up with all the different parts. So every company should ask itself the question, what the unique points are that they can bring to the table. And probably it's only one of the three, either the customer contact and service or the software part, or it's the production part. And it would probably be smart to look to outsourcing and looking to connect to partners for the other tools that you're not the very best at potentially in the world or in your market area to partner up with and create a stronger proposition together, because you do the things that you're good at yourself, partner up with the best possible partners on the things that you cannot be the very best at.
Now, let's talk about partnerships for a second, because you have a strong partnership with a company called HelloPrint, who I strongly suggest people go back and listen to my interview with Hans Scheffer, the CEO of Hello Print, from I don't know when that ran, but it was very interesting from their standpoint of it as a European sort of another sort of middleware player, right? And together you have a joint project. You've created a consumer brand, if you will. Can you talk a little bit about how that works together? Because it kind of touches on exactly the point you were just making.
Yeah, I think this is an exact great example, basically, to give more value to the story that I was just doing. So basically, how we see the partnership between FastEditor and HelloPrint and producing partners that are connected to HelloPrint as an example of the story that we just had. So with FastEditor, we believe that because our vision and our experience and where we currently stand, that we can be the very best party in software for editing products and getting consumer to start with some content and get to their print ready files. We don't see any reason to believe why we could be the best in producing or why we could be the very best in customer contact, also because completely different competences are needed on that part.
Right.
HelloPrint, on the other side, is started and always optimized on the best customer contacts. They have like an excellent customer service office in Valencia that's serving all their customers in Europe. And they've always been optimizing in creating customer demands, being able to convert that via the website and creating very strong value from that part. Mm-hmm. And they also learned already quick in the journey that they were not going to be the very best on the production part. And they didn't have the interest and didn't want to do the investment in owning a production hall and like those kind of things. So they connected over 350 European suppliers, right, with technology basically defining which supplier can order which individual product for which customer. Sure. So basically in this case, it's completely split up between 350 producing partners that only produce when they are the very best use case for producing that order. It could be price or sustainability reasons or quality reasons or logistical reasons or something like that. HelloPrint focusing on everything customer facing, and with FastEditor being in the middle basically to process the customer content, create that to print ready files in a very user-friendly way, and basically make the triangle complete in that way.
And like Agfa Photo is an example of that, right? That is one that you've announced recently that you've partnered with. So they're the brand, right? So their job is to make customers aware that this thing exists.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's an example where we took that triangle and basically said to Aquaphoto, you have a great brand, you have a big customer database. We can basically give you all these competences and you can tap in directly into the software side, the customer contact side, and the production sides, and go basically from 0 to 1 in creating an excellent proposition to your customers. Extended product range, all locally produced, the best software being connected, good customer contact and customer service connected. Basically, you're ready to go and sell and tell your customer base about it. And we can promise you that the orders will come in because the proposition is just good and makes sense and is a very strong fit with your brand.
So how long has that been going on and what's been the reception in the marketplace to that?
For Aquaphoto, you mean?
Yeah.
So basically, we started creating the website at the beginning of the second quarter this year, but a lot was already in place for HelloPrint and other partnerships. So it was like a 2 to 3 month period basically to get from...
Yeah, I mean, you're not building it from the ground up, obviously, but...
Exactly. So in 2 to 3 months, we could build it from not being there, but like starting to use the building blocks that were already available to a fully tested proposition at the end of Q2 that we could launch to the European markets. And from that moment, it's growing every week and every month. We know and historically know that these kind of models need to take time. And grow 10% every month. It doesn't seem a lot like the beginning, but you're creating the snowball that's getting bigger and bigger over time. And that's the phase that we're currently in. Most important indicators are very happy customers. That gives a lot of good feedback. Is that we keep up with that growth rate on a monthly basis and that we move from there. Because it's not a proposition that we started for half a year or a year, but it's something that we try to put in the European market for the next years at least. So we have the time, but also the pressure to keep getting better every month and improving from that perspective. So that's a combination of the two, actually.
So when you come up with enhancements to your platform, which I imagine are coming out all the time, right? Because you're constantly developing this. So when those are enhanced, all of the customers get it, right?
There are a few phases for a rollout normally. Depends on how risky the rollout is. So we have our own testing label where there's like some traffic on that we use for very risky ones. And then we have some also of our partners that like to get the new updates the earliest, and then we test them on their traffic, which could be a winner or a loser, and they know that, but they try to be at the forefront of innovation.
Sure.
Happy to have a loser every now and then to a lot of winners. And then when the tests are there, basically we can push it to all the partners that are using our software. So if everything that's out of testing phase is always released to every partner, so they're always up to date with the latest up-to-date version.
So I guess the reason why I asked that question is because all your customers who are like the marketing and the brands, they're benefiting from the technology investments are, whereas if they were doing it on their own and they had their own development team, it would be much more difficult to roll out enhancements all the time. But since you're doing it for the benefit of basically a marketplace of brands, it's much more efficient that way.
I think that's a big benefit of doing it this way. So for every new partner that we sign, basically the next step is directly that we add another developer to the team, not for specific integration that needs to be done for that new brand, because that's easy to do in 2 to 4 weeks, but just to add like more to the core engine and the core functionality, so that every euro that comes in new revenue for the business can be invested in making the software better and better. And then we roll out to all the partners. So really, our partners also benefit from us getting new partners in many cases. They're not always likely to recommend ourselves to in the same home markets, but in many cases, they recommend them to their peers in other markets. That doesn't hurt them, because they know the more partners we sign, the bigger the development team and the better the rollouts. So in many cases, our happy customers are very happy and motivated to also bring new business to us.
Awesome. Well, if people were interested in bringing business to you, where would people go to get more information about FastEditor and you and all the fine people there?
Our website is www.fasteditor.com. All the information is basically there, and people can request a product demo on how the software works, but also see it already like online. And everyone can always contact me on LinkedIn. Happy to chat and set up a call to explain more about what we do, or also just about the vision that we have on the market and where we see it evolving.
Well, great, Rick. Great to see you again. Thanks so much. And hopefully we'll see you soon somewhere in person.
Yeah, that would be so great, Gary, and looking forward to that for sure. Thanks for having me. It was a real pleasure. Always good to see you and always nice to talk to you, and hopefully see you very soon.
Thank you for listening to the Dead Pixel Society podcast. Read more great stories and sign up for the newsletter at www.thedeadpixelssociety.com.